Indian Science and Technology, Professor Vijay and Dr. Vijay. In fact, I was a PhD student at NCS when Dr. Vijay was our director, even before he moved to Delhi. So I am aware of his contributions since then. And a lot of many distinguished friends sitting in the audience, and those who are more qualified than me to talk about science and technology, including my childhood friend.
I'm here.
This must be professor. So I hope now you can hear. So a lot of distinguished friends here sitting in the audience, including my childhood friend Professor Sunil Bhagwat, who is the director of IISERs, and many others. So first of all, thank you, Professor Ashutosh Sharma, for inviting me here. It is indeed a great pleasure. In his welcome speech, Professor Sharma talked about how science and technology is integrated. In the Indians who are very famous for being one, how he has been ignored versus other. So I wrote a rejoinder to that, and he published it in his blog. And I wrote that science and technology are not like RSS and communists who can't talk together. In fact, how one is dependent on other and vice versa. So in such a divisive debate, it is really heartening to see that topic of this importance of how to integrate science and technology is being discussed in this platform. Friends, as mentioned by Professor Mashalkar, India's every effort and investment, every rupee of investment in science and technology should be derived towards affordability and innovation. Prime Minister Modi, when he addressed Science Congress in 2014 or 2015, he said that to me, the arms of science, technology and innovation that develop, support and govern our people. Innovation must reach the poorest, the remotest and most vulnerable poor section of the society. So this should be our collective wisdom in addressing any issue while we talk about science and technology. For the innovations, spirit of questioning is beginning of finding innovation solutions. And it is our Vedic tradition to question and even to challenge the very existing norms. Adi Shankaracharya has famously said that 100 Shrutis, even if 100 Shrutis may declare that fire is cold or that is dark, still they possess no authority over the matter. So accepting the reality without accepting the dogma is our tradition. But somehow in last few hundred years, we lost that tradition and we become more conformist. I would blame to an extent our education system for that, but now with NEP and many other initiatives, we are trying to recorrect it. Friends, I will share with some personal examples. When I was in the corporate life, I used to go to one famous university for orals of biotechnology MSc final students. And one of my favorite questions to them, and they were very exceptionally talented fellows, many of them would have already secured a PhD seat in prestigious universities abroad. But I would ask them a very simple question, that if you are being given 3 test tubes with aqueous solutions, one has DNA, one has RNA, and one has protein, and devise a simple experiment to identify which one is what. So 50% of the students would not be able to devise such a simple experiment. Another few people would devise some very complex experiment which is mostly unpractical, and very few could give a right answer. So the problem solving ability in our education system is one of the lacuna I find always challenging the innovation ecosystem. The second problem I used to feel that many fresh PhDs I would interview to recruit in my own lab, and I would ask them a question that if the funding is not a constraint, what will you do in the same topic in which you have done your PhD? So many of the students would only give a very incremental answer rather than throwing something out of the box. So thinking big is also another lacuna I always find in our students. Partly because of the reason that we are extremely fearful of the failures. And unless we come out of this phobia, that as other speakers have also said, that the failure is a part of research, failure is a part of taking adventures, and unless we fail and take lessons out of it, we won't be able to succeed. So unless we come out of this fear of failure, we cannot have a breakthrough discovery. As I said in the beginning, people are and will remain India's greatest asset because of our great population and because of our sheer numerical strength in STEM. But we need to harness that and drive them toward more innovation and entrepreneurship than only going into the traditional fields. India's path to leading the innovation therefore must be people-centric, meaning that one influences institutions that can be done by meeting three conditions. One is that we should accept that irrespective of the origin of a person, what is his education background, what is his financial background, everyone is capable of innovating something, and we should nurture them and we should encourage them. Second is that we talk a lot about industry academia, collaboration, but very little is happening even today. And it happens mostly because I worked in both the sides. I feel that this is required but not happening, mainly because the unmatched expectations on both the sides. So there is an urgent need to bridge this gap. And then the third aspect is the government, academia, industry should work together. Many good experiments and initiatives have taken place in last 10-15 years, including, especially because I come from the biotechnology background, in the area of biotechnology, the experiment of BRIC has been extremely successful in creating new innovation ecosystem in the life science area. I feel that this needs to be implemented in many other sectors. I am also fortunate to be a part of Atal Innovation Mission, which is again a very innovative initiative of this government, and many new startups and many new innovative products have been emerged out of some simple experimentation and frugal innovations. And at the same time, through Atal Innovation Mission, we are able to use some state-of-the-art technologies to the Defense Department only because the Defense Ministry was involved right from the beginning. So when I say that there needs to be a collaboration between the end user and the innovator, unless that collaboration starts at an early age of innovation, most probably there will be a product, it might be very innovative, but may not be of any use to the end user, or it will not match the specifications and expectations of end user. To avoid this trap, the early collaboration between the end users or at least those who know the requirements of end use with the innovator is extremely important. Fortunately, new education policy gives us a lot of flexibility in doing some of the things which we would not have been able to do during our time as a student. It also gives interdisciplinary exposure, which also was lacking when we did our school and college education. For example, I gave up mathematics very early days of my life after 12th, and then at a later part, I found that it was one of the biggest mistakes I did as far as my scientific career is concerned. And similarly, those who have gone to mathematics and physics must have given up biological sciences at an early age, and also must be feeling similar constraints at a later part. So this kind of education being in silos has been our major constraint as far as innovation is concerned, because innovation is mostly, if not every time, interdisciplinary. So with a lot of such policy changes and innovative programs, schemes, and the entire culture of startups that has come up, now we have more than 100,000 startups. I am sure that the next 10-20 years which we will see will be a revolution in all the fields which this TRIPS conclave is looking at, and I wish all of you a great success. Thank you very much.